love change. That's why it's very difficult for me to understand why people don't like change, why they hesitate about change, why they can't handle change. Change is the reality. It's the nature of life. And all living things change, and non-living things. Why is it so difficult for people to make decisions and to make a choice and change? The origin of the word to decide is coming from the Latin origin, decadere, which means to cut off, to kill, actually. And it is true that to be able to choose something, you also need to let go of other things. By choosing one thing, you are killing something, you're taking something out of your life. And probably, every choice involving a gain and a loss is the most difficult part. And we make choices every day without thinking too much about our choices. But let's focus on the more important ones. And today I'd like to share 3 important career changes in my life, which were the 3 inflection points, again in my life, one of which is happening now. And these are important inflection points in life, not only because work is important, we go there to earn money and, and earn our living, because we spend a lot of our time at work. And work forms and defines ourselves. And ideally, it also adds meaning to our being. Let me first step back and tell you about how I landed up at my first job before talking about the 3 inflection points. Like I said, I'm a very curious person and a very self-challenging person. I'm curious about new things. I'm always open to learning new stuff. That is why I think I resonate with Einstein's words that curiosity is even more important than intelligence. I attended an all-girls high school, and I was a pretty good student. But I remember I always wondered, I'm only good because I think I'm among the girls, and I probably wouldn't be that successful if I was in a co-ed school. Then I went and studied engineering at university with a lot of guys, and I ended up being pretty successful. Then I remember thinking to myself, challenging myself, maybe you're only successful among the Turks, and if you go international, you won't be that successful. Then I did my master's in the States, with a full scholarship, and then only coming back from the States, again with a great degree, I was thinking, maybe I'm not that bad, but probably in studying, not doing. And with this challenge, I mean, I applied to, at that time, Unilever and P&G, which were the 2 hotshot companies back then, and then I ended up joining Unilever only because the recruitment process ended earlier than P&G, and it was closer to my home. And hindsight, I see that Unilever was a great first home for me. I'm frequently asked by many young colleagues, what to do right after university or where to start working. And I always recommend that they find a company which gives them the opportunity to experiment and learn early on in their careers. Not to learn about business only, but to really discover what they are really good at. Because what I think is you excel the most in what you are good at. All our education system is based on really getting an average passing score on all the courses, rather than looking at excelling at something that you are good at. And it's the same in business, too. It is really conforming to the norms. Everybody needs to conform to the norms, and you have your development areas to fit into the norms as well. I believe that what's most important is to, early on in your career, to find what you are good at. When I had first started Unilever, a more senior guy had approached me and said to me, I have seen many newcomers. You are not managing up effectively. You will soon be fired. He was partially right. I mean, hindsight, looking back, my strong suit is not best managing my bosses. But probably I had some other strengths that balanced that out. So my suggestion to you all is to look at your strengths and focus in finding your strengths early on in your lives. I had very happy and successful 12 years at Unilever. Unilever is a great global company that helps to develop people, invest in personal development, gives you demanding roles and increasing responsibilities to retain talent. However, towards the end of my 10 years, I again had an itchy feeling, again challenging myself to see if I was only successful in that environment, where I created a comfort zone, and if I could be successful again in another company, in another environment, possibly move out of my comfort zone to a less structured, more experimental environment, to a different culture where it wasn't more organized, that allowed more experimentation, move on from growing in a global company to growing the Turkish company, which was only 10 years old then. So first career change for me, then moving from Unilever to Turkcell, was actually triggered by challenging my own potential. Could I repeat success? That was the essence of my challenge, I guess. I had 11 very fulfilling years at Turkcell, becoming the chief marketing officer. After 2 years, I joined the company. Then I went on to lead the international businesses, which was with 6 general managers reporting to me over the last 4 years. But then my second inflection point came after 11 years, which had 2 decision points, actually. The first one, the decision to leave Turkcell, which was very much based on values. And the second one, shortly coming after, to join Yıldız Holding, to really be part of one of the founding leadership team to set up a new global company, which we then called Pledis. Hence, the second change in my career was triggered by challenging my own ambition. That was really, could I lead globally? From challenging my potential to challenging my ambition at the second stage. I've been having a great time at Pledis, very busy, very hectic, very chaotic at times, but exciting overall 3 years. Being part of these leadership teams, setting up a new company, new culture, foundations of a new global company, which is the number 3 among the top 10 giants in its category. Great. I am now moving on to the next stage in my life, leaving Yıldız Holding and probably corporate life behind as of end of June. So the first thing I will do is a full summer holiday, which I've never ever done in my life since I started university. And then after that, I plan to give back to the younger generations through probably some consulting, some coaching, doing some board roles, teaching at university, and supporting startups, and probably a portfolio of all of these and more. I plan to feed my curiosity and at the same time give back. Hence, this change, this time, I think is triggered by challenging my own legacy. It's important to understand the factors that affect your decision. In my book that I wrote on decision-making, I refer to all these factors, and basically I think they start with your values, your emotions, your perceptions, your past experience, and your environment. All have an impact on your decisions. The most important thing is to really understand these factors so that you can embrace change and make better decisions. Looking back, I realized that all these 3 changes in my career have been triggered by a sense of curiosity and self-challenge. And that's been the short story of my life, but maybe through different motives every time. Challenging my potential early on in my career to challenging my ambition later on, and now really challenging the legacy that I want to leave behind. As I approach the end of the second quarter of my life, and by that I mean the first 25 years, basically, the first quarter was basically spent on education, and the second quarter basically in corporate life, I challenged myself once again, regarding how to make best use of now the third quarter with more wisdom and wholeness. a decision is seen to be taken at a certain point in time, but no, it's a process. And it requires a lot of preparation. And the most important preparation is really preparing yourself. And going forward, I said to you, I plan to teach at universities. But hindsight, I have been a tutor. I've instructed in many various universities. And I've been teaching in different universities over the last 20 years in my career, on and off. I said I want to take on board roles. I attended the Women on Board program back in 2013, and I didn't stop there. I wanted to excel in that one. So I looked up and found a very good certificate program on corporate governance at INSEAD University, and then completed that program in 2014. Then I demanded and stood up for various executive board roles so that I would prepare myself. I am a founding member of the Women for More Women on Boards Association, and I'm also mentoring new mentees in the foundation. So it's about really preparing yourself. I also said I'm thinking of supporting startups. As a matter of fact, I am an angel investor, and I've so far invested in 6 different technology companies over the last 5 years. For my global role and the experience I have built, I've been away from home roughly 3 weeks out of every 4 weeks every month over the last 2 years. Nothing comes easy on a plate. I think preparing yourself for change and embracing challenge is the key. I was at the TED conference at Vancouver 2 weeks ago. It was really an inspirational and exciting experience. But I want to quote one woman who particularly impressed me. It was Gwynne Shotwell. She is the president and CEO of SpaceX, working very closely with Elon Musk. Something she said resonated so much with me. She said, Elon Musk makes our life so difficult by constantly challenging us. And this is really annoying. But she said, the moment I realized that his role was to challenge and my role was to ease this, all of a sudden I started loving my job instead of being frustrated about it. I totally endorse this thinking. We should really embrace challenge and love change, rather than being frustrated about it. I look forward to the next quarter of my life. And I love Einstein's another saying, I'd like to quote it. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you need to keep moving. Curiosity and self-challenge are what are keeping my bike rolling. What are your values that shed light to your journey? What will be your change story? And I hope my journey will help to inspire yours. Thank you.